Hey guys, I am super excited for today's video because today is, if I calculated right, I might have messed up, but I think it is 10 days until the first day of fall. And I love fall. It's like the perfect weather and it's not too cold, not too hot. All the leaves are falling, so it's really pretty. You got pumpkins, you've got great food, pumpkin spice everything. And then the exciting thing is because it's also 103 days till Christmas. So anyways, I'm a little excited. I love this time of year. If you're anything like me, you like to think ahead. So at this time of year, I'm like browsing Pinterest, looking for fall decorating ideas. And then once fall gets here and I've got the whole place, decorated looking awesome, then I start looking for Christmas decorating things. And then I go crazy with Christmas and it's great. So I figured I'd go ahead and do this week. Started off with some fall things. We are going to be making more clay stuff. We're going to be building off of what we learned last week. But this is what we're making today. Isn't it so cute? It's just a fun little pumpkin made out of polymer clay. I used Sculpey clay for this today. And it's just a great little fun decoration. You can make it whatever size you want. This will look cute if you have like some kind of cornucopia to tuck it inside of. Stick it on the mantle. Just a little nice detail piece to add a little bit of fall character to your decoration. So it's a great craft for this time of year. And I am very excited for it. So let's look at how we're going to make this. So this is the basic idea of the pumpkin we're going to make today, but we're actually going to take it up a notch. I made this a couple years back. I think it's cute, but we're going to use the Millefiori technique from last video, and we're going to use the cane method to create a patterned pumpkin. So we're going to use the same basic steps, except we're going to make a super epic pumpkin, basically. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our canes. These are the 5 different colors I'm using. I just chose some different oranges, some like almost gold brownish colors, red and yellow, and I'm going to make some different canes. Just like last week, I'm going to make one of these kind of canes, following the steps from last week's tutorial Tuesday. So if you missed that video, you need to go back and watch it, and I'm going to do that with the red and the yellow. But I will show you another kind of cane I'm going to do, and now I'm going to use these two right here. So I've conditioned these 2 colors of clay, and also using the method shown in last week's tutorial Tuesday, I'm going to roll these into sheets. These sheets I want to be fairly thin, so I might not use the rulers. I might, after I use the rulers, might just roll it out a little bit more, but I'm going to roll these out into nice thin sheets. As you can see, I've rolled out these 2 sheets of clay. I'm going to cut them to be roughly the same size and then lay them on top of each other. So actually I'm just going to lay them on top of each other. Take my razor, being careful. I'm going to slice them both into a rectangular shape. What's nice is if you make a little slit, you can kind of fold the clay back and just peel it off like that. And you can see I've got these 2 laying on top of each other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at one end, and I'm just going to gently roll this whole sheet in on itself. So roll around just like that. It's going to look a little funky, but I'm going to gently press along the cane from all sides to work the air out. Working from the center out to the edges. Just keep pushing that air out. It's going to get a little smushed, going to get a little crazy looking, but that's okay. It'll turn out really cool in the end when we cut it. Just keep pinching the air out all the way around. And then once the air is pinched out, I'm going to roll it. And this is going to be one of the canes that I will use on my pumpkin. With these 2 colors, I'm going to make a 3rd cane. And this is just the most basic cane you can make. I'm going to roll this one into a tube. And then I'm going to make a sheet out of this one, wrap the tube in the sheet, and just roll that thin. And that will be my 3rd cane pattern. So just like normal, roll it out. My table's moving a little bit here, sorry. Roll it out, kind of neaten the ends, watch for air bubbles. I'm going to roll this guy out and then I'll wrap it around this cane. So I've got my tube and I've got my sheet, and I'm just going to roll it up. And I've just add a little bit of character to the cane. I'm not going to worry about how even these edges are, how well the overlap is, and the thickness of the sheet, just because I think it'll add a nice character to the pumpkin. So I'm going to, again, work the air bubbles out by squeezing from the middle to the end. Make sure I get all my air bubbles out. And then I'm going to roll it out thin. And then I'll come back once I have my 3 canes and we'll start assembling the pumpkin. So now you can see I've got my 3 canes. This one here is the one that I showed you guys how to do last week on Tutorial Tuesday. This is just the basic one where I have the center and then it's wrapped around in another color. And then this one is the new one I showed you today, the swirl. And I haven't cut any of those yet, and we'll cut those in just a minute. But what we need to do is we need to make our pumpkin body that we're going to cover with the different cane patterns. So you might be looking at this going, how big do I want to make it, how small? You can make it whatever size you want. But if you go too big, that's a lot of clay, right? Well, there's actually a little trick I'm going to show you guys. Aluminum foil is our friend because this pumpkin, it's not actually solid clay. This one, I used aluminum foil on the inside because then it saved the amount of clay I needed to use. So I'm just going to take some aluminum foil, smush it into a ball, a nice pumpkin shape, and then I'm going to cover that in my clay, and that is going to form the base of my pumpkin. Again, you can make it however big or little you want. I'm going to take this piece and kind of wrap it all up in one solid piece just to help the core stay together well while I am covering it in the orange. Also, you can kind of make it whatever shape you want. You don't have to do a nice round pumpkin. Pumpkins comes in all kinds of fun shapes and sizes. See how much clay that's going to cut down? So I'm going to need to cover it with this orange, so I'm just taking this piece that I've already conditioned here and I'm just smushing it and spreading it out. While I keep mushing this out, I will give a couple words of caution. One, you want to watch out for little air pockets here because it can change how your clay bakes, and it might also change how well the different canes connect on it, so you want to just be aware of that. But then also be aware of how thin or thick you go because we are going to shape it, so you don't want to be shaping it with the toothpick and then suddenly expose aluminum foil because that would be a strange looking pumpkin. I'm just going to start wrapping it in this, stretching it around. There's not really a great right or wrong way for this that I know of anyways. I'm just going to cover it, make sure there's no exposed parts. Still got a couple spots where aluminum foil is sticking out. I'm just going to condition some more clay and cover it. I'm also going to kind of roll this around just so that way it's really securely on the aluminum foil. And I don't end up with any air pockets that could cause problems when the clay bakes. Although I will say Sculpey clay, I have used it for a long time and I've never had any problems with air pockets when it bakes, which that's not to say that you can't have problems with it, but I've probably had air pockets when stuff is baked, but it's a good clay because it hasn't seemed to affect it too much, but you still do want to avoid it. And now we get to the fun part. Now that we've got our pumpkin base, we're going to take our canes and we're going to cut them and we're going to reveal the new patterns and then we're going to cover our pumpkin. Once again, I'm going to keep repeating this, but be careful with the razor blade. Don't hurt yourselves. That'd make me sad. So here's our first pattern. You can see it here. Very cool. We'll cut into this basic cane that we've got here. Just a nice, fun, pleasant pattern. And we'll cut into the new one from today, the swirl. Oh, and that looks cool. I like that. And probably the swirl will be in different amounts as you go throughout here. It almost looks like a leaf. So I'm going to cut my canes into a bunch of little pieces and then start covering my pumpkin. So you can see I took my canes and I cut them up. You can see the really cool patterns here. Just got a nice big pile of them. And I'm going to take my giant pumpkin frame and I'm just going to start picking them up randomly and pressing them on here. And then once I get it covered in the pieces, I will roll it out like I did my beads in my other video. And then I will shape the pumpkin. So just cover it in the different colors, the different canes, however you want it to look. You can see I've greatly depleted my supply of my little cane slices, but now I have this really fun patterned giant bead, pumpkin, whatever you want to call it. And last thing I need to do before I shape it and add the stem and the leaf is I just need to roll it to smooth out all the edges. And now for the fun, scary part. We've got this awesome looking pumpkin body, and now we've got to shape it. So I just went ahead on this one. You can kind of see, that's the bottom. The bottom doesn't look too great, but I just drew 6 lines to create 6 different pumpkin wedges, pumpkin grooves, to just add some texture. So that's what I'm going to do on this one. I'm going to pick a part. That's going to be my bottom, and I'm going to take a toothpick, and I'm going to start pushing in as I go up. And I'll work this groove deeper and give it more character as I go along. I'm just going to start by going all the way around, pushing in with the toothpick until I meet it back at the bottom. So you can kind of see the first groove starting, and then I'm going to really gouge it out with the tip of my toothpick, just to really define the pumpkin shape. You'll also notice it'll do really cool things with the canes as you push down on them. So that's one. I'm going to go through and do another. Also, if you use more the tip than the whole body, you can get thinner grooves if you want more detailed shape to your pumpkin. Top and the bottom, I'm really pushing it in deep. Get that nice shape. And there we go. Now we have our cute pumpkin body. So the last thing I want to do is I'm going to pick which side's going to be my top. I think I'm going to go with this one because then it'll kind of be angled. I'm just going to gently push it into the table to flatten out the bottom just a little bit so that I know my pumpkin will stay balanced very well. And then I'm going to take some of this color I'm going to use for my stem. So to make the stem, it's very easy. Just pinch off a small bit, roll it to the desired thickness. You can see on this one about how thick I made it. So I'm going to go about the same thickness. You can also make one end smaller than the other, so that way the base is thicker. I'm going to kind of push back right here to make this thicker. And I'm going to first stick it on my pumpkin. To stick on the pumpkin, I'm just going to gently push downward. Take the toothpick and really press it in there good. Just shape it. Keep it that wider look at the base. You also push it down into these crevices here. Add any texture you want, because pumpkin stems are usually pretty rough. So you can go in with your toothpick and add some texture. I'm going to do that right now. Just kind of roughly scratch it. And then once I add the texture, then we'll roll up the stem and put it in a nice curly Q. So more, I'm just going to gently rub off all those little pieces that kind of build up from scraping. And now that I feel like I've got enough texture, you can use a toothpick, you can use the bamboo skewer if you have one, and just gently wrap the stem around. I'm going to kind of pinch the stem a little bit, just kind of shape it. I'm going to push it against the pumpkin a little bit to hold it on securely, and then just gently wiggle the toothpick out. And now I've got the stem on there, so the last thing I need to do is make a leaf. I'm going to use this nice green that I've conditioned for the leaf, and I'm going to pinch off 5 roughly equal sections about that big. And when I made this pumpkin a couple years back, I actually looked up pictures of pumpkin leaves because I had a hard time figuring out quite the look I wanted, and I wanted to look like a pumpkin leaf. So I'm going to take each of these and I'm just going to kind of pinch it flat and pinch the base to kind of give it a teardrop shape almost, if you will, just like that. And I'm also going to pinch the bottom a little bit. So both ends are getting pinched, but one end's going to be longer than the other, just roughly like that. And I'm going to do that with all 5 of my pieces. Have a long pinched end, a shorter pinched end. And now that I've got my shapes here, they're just all kind of misshapen, not perfect, just very whimsical. I'm going to pinch the fat base ends together just like this. So that way the skinnier end is sticking out. It's going to look kind of like this. And I'm going to pull the middle part down a bit, kind of pinch it together here at the base. And just pinch a little bit of extra clay down this way. Kind of keep shaping it. If you need a little bit more clay, I'm going to actually need a little bit more clay here to be able to attach it to my pumpkin. Just kind of shape it however you want it to look. Pumpkins have this kind of star shape, almost like a maple leaf. Not quite like a maple leaf, but this kind of 5-pointed look. As always, feel free to draw in some texture. You'll find that even just simple little lines with a toothpick can really take your projects to the next level. Gouge it up as deeply as you want, or just light marks. I'm going to attach it right here on the back of the stem, so I'm going to put it against here. I'm going to press it from the back with my toothpick just to get it to really stick well. And then I'm going to kind of fluff it up and out like that. Turn it a little more this way to kind of balance out the stem a little bit. Just play around, get it to look how you want. Just make sure wherever it attaches to the clay that it's attached securely. And that is going to be my pumpkin. The last step now is all I've got to do is I've just got to bake it. Because it has the tinfoil center, I'm not going to bake it as long as if I were to measure all the way across this. However, this will take a good bit of time to bake. So just follow the instructions on your package. Okay, I just like keep staring at this thing. I love this so much. I think it's super cute. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial too. I hope that you were able to make a successful pumpkin with all the cute little patterns on it. I think it just really adds a little extra pop to it. Takes it from just a polymer clay pumpkin to like a polymer clay pumpkin. So I hope you crafters enjoyed this week's video. As always, give it a thumbs up if you appreciated it. Also, comment below. Tell me if you like this video. Tell me what colors and which patterns you're going to be using. You can see I used all 3 of the different textures I showed today, but you could do just 1 or just 2, and you can always mix up your colors. So I'd be really interested to hear what your ideas are, which actually now that I'm looking at this, it would almost be cool if you did it in non-pumpkin colors like greens or blues. So anyways, just some more fun free ideas, but always comment below. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to hit the subscribe button below and hit the little bell thing next to it. And until next week, I hope you guys have a great time getting ready for fall. So it's actually Labor Day for me, which today, what's cool, like today when I'm filming this, not like today when you're watching this. Today when you're watching it, if I calculate it right, it's 103 days until Christmas, but today it's 111 days till Christmas. So I'm a little further out than you guys are because you're watching this in the future than when I'm filming this, but me of like a week or 2 ago is still really excited for Christmas and fall and everything awesome.